What's up, Chris? How you feel, big dog?
Good. How you feeling, man?
Trying to figure it out, man. What are your thoughts on this whole thing?
See, I'm not a fan of guns at all. Like probably like the next person, but at the same time, never mind what I do for a living. That's my job. I have to have a gun on me. But with what's going on in your neighborhood these days, you need something there because police. I put it in the super chat. Police have a slow response time. They're going to prioritize
Not in my
your
neighborhood.
call. No, 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 no. I'm talking about the majority, not all.
Okay.
And I should have said that. My
No, I'm with you.
apologies.
I'm with you.
Police are slow to react to situations. That's where my company that I work for comes into place. We respond to the situation, but a lot of cities don't have that luxury. So you need something in place until the police gets there. So I tell people go get a Smith& Wesson SD9 VE, which is probably the most entry level of handguns for anybody to use. Go to the gun range, learn how to use it. Only use it when you need to use it, and you should be fine. Put it in the safe where the kids can't get to it.
Hmm.
It's really that simple.
Do you think? Yeah, I mean, a lot of things are simple. Do you think that most people will be responsible as gun owners just because they have the right to be able to own one? That's the question that we have right here.
Right. And I used to think that because I stay in Texas. First we was concealed, then we became open carry. I got a little worried about that. Relatively, people are responsible.
Why are
Then
you not a fan of guns? I'm curious.
because there's so many rooms for error, in my opinion, depending on who you are, and you'll always have the what if factor. I have that regularly because I'm in security, but it's like, what if this goes wrong? What if I leave this out? It's just a bunch of questions that, and it could raise up your anxiety depending on who you are. But for the most part, if you're around the right, depending on who you are, they trust you to know how to use that weapon. And you just got to be responsible at the end of the day. I was never a fan of guns at all, but as I got older, I realized I need to grow up
Hmm.
and protect my family.
So you don't necessarily like them. You just don't. You don't like guns, but then you don't see it as a problem
It's a
for there to be gun ownership.
it's a necessary means.
I
Now,
got you.
personally, if you can get rid of guns, cool. But at the same time, I'm smart enough to know that's not going to stop the problem. The problem's going to still remain.
So the problem isn't gun. The problem isn't solved by more guns by responsible gun owners.
Say that one more time.
The problem isn't solved by more responsible gun owners owning guns.
Mm. No, I was. That's not a yeah. No, that's not a problem at all because I have to see it for myself. Most people who have a gun is gun ownership are usually responsible versus those who just have a gun that's not supposed to have it and they doing some dumb shit that's going to end up on the news.
I got you. Well, listen, I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for coming up, my friend. You adding a lot of value into this conversation.
No problem, brother.
How you feel, my friend?
Hey, how you doing, brother?
Chilling, chilling. What's the word?
Uh, yeah, I just kind of wanted to address that about the gun issue
Uh huh.
that a lot of people feel that guns isn't needed and all of this. It makes no sense to me. I understand in a perfect world uh, where we might not need guns, but as you know and I know, we don't live in a perfect world.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 100% for allowing responsible people to have weapons because we know irresponsible people definitely going to get weapons.
Yeah.
So since we would be unable to take, they say we have more guns in America than people. And it's no coming back from that. When guns outnumber the amount of citizens you have in the country, how are you going to take all the guns off the streets? It's impossible.
Mm.
And I feel a person should be able to defend themselves. If you notice, the the states that has the population is actually shrinking is California and New York,
Mm-hmm.
and they have some of the strictest gun laws. The states that's growing are like New York and Texas. I mean, it's Florida and Texas are the fastest growing states who have the most gun friendly laws in the country.
Mhm.
And the main reason those people in California say they leaving, not just because it's more expensive to live in those places. That's one of the reasons, but the main reason is because of crime. So it's not just it costs more to live in California, it costs more to live in New York, because a lot of people leaving those states have money. The problem is the crime. When they was asked, what is the main reason you leaving? Pretty much across the board, they said it was crime.
So do you think that people are leaving more? Like, if you bring it down to a realistic perspective, right? Because if you got a certain level of resources, you can always move into a better neighborhood, right? In a general sense. Do you think that people are really leaving these larger cities because of crime, or do you think that they more or less leaving the cities because the cost of living is too high in those particular areas?
I believe it's crime, because you got to understand, in some cities you're not even able to defend your property. So you can live in a good area, like parts of St. Louis. If you ever been to St. Louis, you have St. Louis County. So you have St. Anne, St. Charles, St. Peter's. Those are outside of the city of St. Louis. So what happened was that more people with money said, you know what? We tired of this crap in St. Louis. So we're going to move outside of St. Louis. So they start building cities out there. And those the fastest growing parts of St. Louis, why downtown St. Louis has went to the dumps. But outside of St. Louis is flourishing. So what was happening is that a lot of people thought, okay, the money is going on the outside, so we're going to start going out there robbing people, right? No, because in St. Louis, they passed laws to where now you don't even need a permit to carry a weapon. But at first, people thought those was easy targets. But once they passed that law, you notice the crime stopped dropping outside the cities of St. Louis, the outskirts of St. Louis, because now anybody can carry a weapon. And the thing with criminals is you want to get the easiest target possible. That's the whole point of being a professional criminal.
A professional criminal.
You're not looking at a challenge. You're not looking at somebody that might shoot me, or I'm having to get in a gun battle with somebody. I want someone that's unarmed. Not me personally, but criminals. They look for easy targets.
Professional criminals.
Exactly. I mean, you might have. I think people overrate crime sometimes. Is that they just think criminals are just fearless people that just walk up on somebody like yourself or me. Somebody that I say, I don't know if you armed or not or whatever, but somebody like me, they always think twice. I never really have a problem when I go to certain places, because if people can see you armed, they think twice.
So do you
lot of times
you purposely show that you armed?
Sometimes, according where I'm at.
Well, let me ask you a question, right? Because I'm gonna think from the perspective of violent criminal, right? Now, you got the car that I want, right? You driving this fresh, beautiful car that I want. Now, I'm not going to not get that car. But the fact that you're showing yourself that you armed, from my perspective, just puts me in a space to where I know that I'm going to have to plan more effectively, or I'm going to have to be a little bit more aggressive with you so that you ain't getting to your weapon. Do you think that that's more of a narrative? Or do you think that it actually deters criminal activity as a result of you showing yourself to be armed? Or do you think that people just don't really pay that much attention, and you're just not the type of person that's ever ran into a person that would want to do harm to you?
Okay. Well, I sometimes we got to put ourselves. I know it's hard because we both hardworking men. I don't believe in taking anything from anybody.
Yeah, I don't either.
That I don't earn. Right.
Yeah, this is just a hypothetical. It's just a hypothetical.
Exactly. I hate thieves.
Yeah.
Right. But if I was a thief, I'm just putting myself in that person's shoes. If I'm a thief, and say you have that real nice car, you have that nice Mercedes that I want, But I see to get that Mercedes, okay, this guy's armed. And then I see a person over there with a Hyundai or whatever, that's not armed. If thieves aren't stupid, I would go after the Hyundai from the unarmed guy, then the Mercedes from the armed guy.
I'm coming for the
Mercedes. It just risks, you have to.
I'm coming for the Mercedes.
You coming for the Mercedes?
Mm-hmm. Now I know. I just know I got to be quicker, more aggressive. I might even have to kill you as a result of it.
Yeah. Oh, me, I'm 20 years retired.
No, we can't do that. That don't factor. Ain't nobody taking into whether or not you're retired.
Okay, I'm just saying, just from being in battlefields, I've been in dangerous areas, from Afghanistan to Saudi Arabia to all these different places. And one thing I always notice, even with soldiers, is that most people is not going to take the risk of armed confrontation. Even if you notice that
you're talking about war, you're not talking about thieves. That's a different mindset.
Yeah, but I'm just taking it because just because you're in a war zone don't mean that when we occupy a country or we're in a country, I'm not saying too much, but when we're in these countries, small part of when you occupying the country is actually occupying the country. The biggest part is keeping peace, law, and order in those countries. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, so we're the police. Once you say, I'm occupying this country, you're not just saying, I'm just sitting here and I'm just on face the soldiers, other soldiers. No, you have to keep order. You have to keep law and order in these countries, because now that's your responsibility. So you're dealing with thieves and people who do assault and all of these different things.
Well, the thing about it is, if you bring it back here, right? Let's bring it back here for a second.
Okay.
I'm always under the assumption that everybody is carrying.
Not in New York, I wouldn't be.
But now that I know you carrying, because I'm playing devil's advocate for the sake of conversation. Right?
Okay.
Now that I know you carrying, now you make it easier for me to be able to plan more effectively. Because when I didn't know you was carrying, I had to assume that you were. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of move cautiously and rob you that way. But now that I know how you move and I know where you got your pistol, right? I know that it's on your side or whatever like that. Hey, man, if I see your hands come down, you catching one, you catching two. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't necessarily see it as a deterrent, and I could be wrong because, I'm not no expert in the whole gun debate or nothing like that. That's not necessarily my wheelhouse. But all I'm saying is that I could see why it still wouldn't necessarily deter, but as a matter of fact, it would probably put somebody at an advantage versus a disadvantage in dealing with it.
Yes, but I think it's just okay. So if I'm looking to rob somebody, okay, and you saying that by me having a weapon, that it might not be a deterrent because now I can prepare.
Because I'm automatically assuming that everybody. I'm assuming that everybody. Because I know a lot of women that carry. I know a lot of women that got pistols. I'm assuming that everybody is strapped. But now that I know where yours is, it's a little bit easier.
Well, most people, when they see a weapon, it's the majority of us, the majority of people, when they see a weapon, just like when a policeman walk up to you with a weapon, right?
No, that's different. You can't use a police.
I get that part. But what I'm saying is that when a person walk up to you with a weapon, like I used to own a couple of businesses. So I had a lot of cops come to me. Like I had a fighting gym where we taught boxing, kickboxing, MMA, all of that stuff. So I used to own this gym. So of course you get a lot of cops, you get a lot of firefighters, you get those people. The biggest problem I used to have when I had those places, the cops come in with their guns, right? So they come in strapped. So I'm constantly getting calls from people at the gym like, I just don't feel comfortable around the guns and stuff. I don't like that they bringing guns inside the gym because I just don't like it. you'll be amazed about how some people just get completely nervous.
Well, those are civilians
around
though. Those
a
aren't
weapon.
Criminals. Those aren't criminals. Those are civilians. That's different.
Yeah, but I get the criminal thing.
I don't think you're wrong. I'm just playing devil's advocate for the sake of
conversation.
Because I like to mine out every aspect of the conversation in order to bring the most information over into the audience so that they can ultimately, get the best results or protect themselves more effectively or think about every single angle. It's just adding value. I don't think that you're wrong, right? And I've never been a soldier. I've never been none of that, right? The most that I've come from is the hood, in which we didn't see too much violence as it is growing up as young people, right? So I think that you're absolutely right. I think that it could quite possibly be a deterrent. I do think that thieves, for the most part, or criminals, go for the path of least resistance. That's just standard across the board. So but I think this is a good conversation to be able to have, right? Should you open carry?
Oh, absolutely.
Or shouldn't you open carry? And how is that good or bad? What are the pros and cons that come along with it, right?
Absolutely. Because that's a discussion we got to have, as a nation, because we just don't have to realize guns isn't going anywhere. Not in the United States. It's just not going to go anywhere. Right. Because even when they buckle down like Chicago, and they buckle down, they say, okay, we're going to pass all of these strict gun laws in Chicago. But people just can go to Wisconsin or neighboring states and get the weapons that they need. Only way that would ever work if it was passed by all states or it was done by the federal government, but it have to even be past that. It would have to be done by all the states. And we know certain states will never change the gun law. So it's just not going to happen. I understand. I lived in Europe for 10 years and you don't have the gun problems and stuff over there like you have over here. Most people don't have weapons, but the difference over there, they started that early. That isn't something you're trying to introduce once you have more weapons than people. That was started way back. And then how they approach crime over there is different. You can commit a crime in, say, Germany or whatever. They actually rehabilitate criminals. They don't put them in just for punishment. So you can have a job while being in prison. You just check back in during the weekday or the weekend. So they let you out, you go to your job, and you check back in.
I don't believe in that.
I'm just saying, so their whole system is different. That's why it kind of works over there and it won't work.
I don't think it works in Europe.
You're saying.
I think it's bad in Europe.
Which part of Europe?
Well, that's the conversation that we got to start having. Listen, my motto is more closely, again, and I always use this as an example, is Singapore. They don't have no crime in Singapore, really. They have virtually no violent crime. They don't really have any petty crime. And the way that they dealt with it is they pulled all of the drug dealers out and the people that were committing the most egregious crimes, and they shot them.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So I believe that when you deal with a problem head on and you address it and you make examples out of people and you help people to understand that it's gonna be a very difficult consequence that come along with your actions, I think that that's the best way to deal with it, is head on and you root out the problem. Because the minute that you start letting it fester and linger on, you start to create more bad apples. Because then people start thinking about the opportunity cost. Okay, well, if I do this, I might go to jail, but it's a party in jail. And do you know that I'm sitting there talking to my chick yesterday and she come and show me she's on TikTok and she goes, I didn't even know TikTok do lives. That's how disconnected I am from TikTok, right? Man, they literally was saying, yo, hit the Cash App if you want to see these two dudes fight. They was in jail. Man, I promise you, bro. It was the craziest thing that I ever seen in my life. This is last night. Watch this. Just watch. I guarantee you, bro. It was the wildest thing jail nowadays here in the United States of America is like a party.
Wow. I believe it. My father was over a penitentiary, was over a prison for over 30 years. Baby. He was a warrant.
What you doing? So I'm on a live. When you showed me your TikTok live yesterday, what was on there?
TikTok live, TikTok live, TikTok live. Oh, it was some guys in prison that was telling people to send them money if they wanted to see a fight, and they was smoking weed and smoking cigarettes on the live.
All right, thank you.
Wow, that is crazy.
Prison over here is a party now.
It's a shame because I know they was having problems in St. Louis with a lot of the prisoners just kind of took over the jail, and the guards just sitting there watching, but they just outmanned. And the problem with that is when you allow, all of these so-called rights that we give criminals. I mean, it's just unbelievable that we'll fight harder for rights for criminals than we fight for law-abiding citizens. And when you get to that stage, it's like somebody has got to use common sense. And the punishments, I mean, when you can commit a crime and you can get out, you commit a crime like the gentleman who murdered the girl that I think she sung at Barack Obama's.
I'm not familiar with it, but
this young lady, she sung at Barack Obama's, I think, inauguration. When he first got elected.
Okay.
And she went back home and she got murdered by this guy. Okay, they come find out the guy that she was murdered by had just got out of jail for murder. I mean, within a 8-year span. So he was able to murder someone at first, murder a person the first time, which they felt that they were saying that he murdered more people, but he was convicted on a murder. He was able to get out of jail, murder someone, get out of jail, murder someone else within an 8-year period.
I don't know, man. We living in modern times, Sodom and Gomorrah in real life, my friend. Listen, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you for coming up on the panel. Feel free to come back anytime, bro.
Appreciate it, man. I love your show, man.
Thank you.
Like I said, I watch you every day. I love your show. I love what you stand for, being a family man, being a successful businessman. I listen to your content. What do you think about the new
format? What do you think about the whole, how I'm doing it as far as like, having the conversations at the end and stuff like that? Do you think?
I love that, man. I mean, I really love that. And, it's like, sometimes you had to, they say you got to put boots on the ground, and that's what you're doing. You out there, you putting out content, you're talking with the people who watch you and rock with you, and that's what you got to do. And it's not like you're sitting on Mount Olympus looking down at everybody. It's like you get down in the trenches.
We all
you get down in the trenches.
I don't believe
and I love that, man.
I don't believe in fans. I don't believe in none of that. I say people are my friends. They're not fans.
Absolutely.
We all human. We all bleed. We all have emotions. We all have things that we go through. Some of us may have some information that others may not have, and then I also glean from the people in order to become a better version of myself, right? So I never look at anybody any differently than I would look at my brother. So I think that everybody is cool, and I evaluate people based off of character. I am passionate about, the demographic of people that more closely aligns with me, but I evaluate people based off of character, and that's how I roll. So I do appreciate you, and thank you for coming up on the platform, my friend. You are absolutely a joy to talk to, and you are more than welcome to come back anytime, my friend.